We got some breaking news on the economy now. The Federal Reserve is leaving interest rates unchanged. Traders will now look ahead to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's press conference a little bit later for any guidance on what the Federal Reserve might do next. So here to break this all down, ABC News business reporter Alexis Christoforous. So glad you're here, Alexis. What does it mean?
Well, this means that you need to get ready for interest rates to remain higher for longer. The Fed today signaling they're not ready to cut interest rates anytime soon because of this hotter than inflation numbers that we've been getting over the past 3 months. And in fact, in their statement today following that rate decision, the Fed saying that it highlighted a lack of further progress. That's its words there, a lack of further progress toward bringing inflation down to its 2% target, Terry, where we know the Fed wants inflation, but right now it seems to be hanging out at around 3.5%. So tough to get inflation down in certain areas of our economy, most notably rent, which a lot of people are still struggling with, and in the food aisles.
Yeah, the rent's too high still, and food prices as well. That's where people live, of course. Alexis, we're watching Jay Powell's press conference, which is coming up soon. What do you expect to hear? What are you looking for in his remarks?
I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of clarity here, nothing new from the Federal Reserve, Terry, but we're going to be listening for any clues about when the Fed thinks they might be ready to start cutting interest rates. Some actually are wondering if we're going to get a rate hike before we get a rate cut later this year if the economy continues to grow strongly and if we get hotter inflation numbers. We have a jobs report out from the government on Friday. If that comes in strong and we see more wage growth, it could convince the Fed to wait a little longer. And just to connect those dots, you think having a strong economy is a great thing, and most of the time it is, but if you have a lot of people working, wages are going up, and they're out there spending more, that in and of itself can be inflationary.
Yeah, and so we're going to ask the question that we always ask, our favorite question in some ways, and Democrats certainly ask it, because if you look at a lot of the numbers, the economy's pretty good. Certainly it's been a lot worse in my long life. But voters don't see it that way. Voters give it a really negative rating, the economy. Obviously, that'll hurt President Biden. What's the explanation for that?
You know, it's hard when you try to get into the psyche, right, of American consumers. But I think overall, inflation is just sticking around a lot longer than we thought. I just want to bring up a couple of graphics, if we could, just to show you how things have changed over the past few years. So when the Fed started raising interest rates back in March of 2022, a 30-year mortgage was 4.16%. Look where it is now, 7.17%. Your credit card interest rates now topping 20%, much higher than they were just 3 years ago. 4 years ago. And so I think people are noticing this. They realize that even though wages are going up, they're quickly getting eaten by inflation. Here you have, auto expenses have really gone through the roof, and now new car loans, nearly 8%, nearly double what they were in 2022. Car insurance alone, Terry, up more than 20% in just the past year. So folks are just paying a lot more for everyday items, and they're blaming the president and this administration for it largely.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful, Alexis. The numbers can say what the numbers say, but if you're paying that much more for those essential goods and services, right, you're not gonna be happy.
Yeah, the
about
numbers
it.
tell the story for sure.
That's it. Alexis, thanks very much.
Sure.